the origin and potential necessity of shaming culture. Today, being shamed for something is a badge of honor. Those that do the shaming are the villains. Those that are being shamed are the victim heroes. But where does shaming come from? Is shaming ultimately bad or ultimately good? One idea is that shaming goes all the way back to our hunter-gatherer origins. If you did something that helped out the tribe in some way, you got a lot of positive social validation, and that made you feel really good. Those good feelings compelled you to do more things that would help out the tribe so you could get more of that positive social validation. On the other hand, if you did something that harmed the tribe in some way, you got negative social validation. And that made you feel bad. Those bad feelings compelled you to not want to feel them again, which would make you avoid doing anything that might harm the tribe in some way. This was an instinctively programmed social regulation system. It kept everybody on point, doing their best to help out the tribe in any way that they could so that they could get those good feelings that came from positive social validation. So, what behaviors would be considered good and what behaviors would be considered bad? Anything that helped the tribe acquire needed resources, like calories, would be good. Anything that helped the tribe's safety, like keeping away from dangerous animals. Anything that increased the tribe's likelihood of survival and replication. This would be anything that supported healthy relationships and raising healthy cave kids, turning young cave kids into productive adults. We can imagine two very dangerous behaviors that would be programmed into our instincts to avoid and shame. One would be consuming more than you produce. If any able-bodied hunter-gatherer consumed more than they produced while everybody else was trying their hard to get as much food as they could so nobody would starve to death, that slacker would be frowned upon. Nobody would be too tolerant of somebody who was just kind of skating by, not carrying their share, and consuming more food than they produced. So being a slacker would generally invite a lot of negative social validation. Another behavior that would tend to invite negative social validation would be promiscuity. One way to think of why is to imagine if everybody did that behavior. If everybody wanted to become a slacker and consume more than they produced, then the entire tribe would starve very quickly. But what about promiscuity? Suppose that everybody in the tribe decided to be as promiscuous as they wanted to, or as they could. What would happen to the entire tribe? From the male's standpoint, nobody would be sure if their kid was really theirs or not. So the males wouldn't have nearly as much as a vested interest in making sure those kids were taken care of. This would lead to a less likelihood of those kids surviving. It's pretty easy to imagine how a non-promiscuous tribe would outpopulate a promiscuous tribe. So to keep that from happening, we developed what you might call a shaming instinct, to shame behavior that would tend to decrease the survival probability of the tribe or the community. And from our metaphorical thought experiments, two big no-nos would be consuming more than you produce and excessive promiscuity. As ancient humans discovered and developed agriculture and societies got really, really big, some of these instinctive behaviors were codified into our early law systems. The idea of modern law is really the same basic structure. A bunch of rules to make sure that nobody does anything that harms or damages the integrity and longevity of a tribe or society. What's different today? Why does shaming no longer seem to work? Why is shaming considered to be bad where before it was necessary to maintain the health of a society or a tribe or a community? One answer is social media. Before, the person being shamed had nobody to turn to. They were isolated. They were forced to change their behavior or else. Today, that isn't true. Anybody that's being shamed today can retreat to social media. Social media can allow you to create your own custom social reference group, so whatever behavior you choose can be validated rather than shamed. This is why it seems to have the opposite effect today. For tens of thousands of years, the rules for living in a society were fairly straightforward. Conform your way of living to the expectations of society or face the consequences. The more you could conform your way of living to the expectations of society and provide value to society in exchange for positive social validation and some money, the more successful you could be. Today, that's been flipped around. Many people believe today that they can live their lives however they want, and it's society's job to conform it to themselves. Our natural instincts compel us to behave in a way that benefits society at large. But today, that's no longer nearly as necessary. With social media, you can find any social reference group you want that will validate whatever behavior you want to exhibit. What do you think? Is society doomed, or do we have a chance? Let us know what you think in the comments. To learn more about human nature and how you can thrive in the modern world, please visit mindpersuasion.com. Check out the links below. And because we make videos almost every day, please subscribe so you can continue to learn more. Thank you for watching.